There are more ways to celebrate than ever before at the Jeep Celebration event. Hurry in for great deals today on the only brand that lets you go anywhere and do anything. And now financing get $2,500 total cash allowance on the purchase of a 2022 Jeep Grand Cherokee WK Laredo 4x4. Don't miss this great offer. Hurry into the Jeep Celebration event today. Financing for all qualified buyers through Chrysler Capital. Not all buyers will qualify. Residency restrictions apply. Must take retail delivery by 5/2/22. Jeep is a registered trademark.
Hi there, I am Adam Kirbas from Ordu in the Black Sea region in Turkey on this rainy August day. So we are still in the pandemic. The Mediterranean region is plagued by floods and fires. I hope that everyone is doing fine and that we somehow will manage this, that we somehow will walk past this. I do believe that this is possible together. Today I wanna continue with talking about my screenplay, and I think it is very important to talk about one issue, and this is of course what I talked about in the last episode, and this is why I use Mexican names, Mexican or Spanish in that sense. Why do I do this in my screenplays, especially at Lifesaver? Of course, we talked about cultural appropriation. Of course, we talked about whitewashing, and I think this is very important here again to justify why I chose to do that. However, like I said the last time, this screenplays Lifesaver in special, but as well as in Invert, as well as all my novels. This is what I always said. This has, of course, real life occurrences. These things happened in a way or another, of course. The rest is fiction as well. So do not make a mistake about it. It is indeed parts of it fiction. So I intermingle it and mix it with real life occurrences, and these things, some of these things occurred in Austria as well as in Germany, and I use this as a part not only to sell a product or something, no, but to of course make aware about some circumstances, about some issues in the Austrian society as well as in Germany. Of course, it would be more appropriate to write it than in Austrian or in German. So Austria speaks German. The national tongue in Austria is German, as well as in the north and Swiss. So, but however, in order to have an influence into Austria, or in order to make the difference in Austria, of course, you would have to write about these issues in Austria, in German, of course, but because it would not make any sense if you would write about issues in Austria in English, and these people who are in Austria and Germany, who would be able to make the change, or who would be able to throw some certain scary and concerning developments, so that they would understand you, of course, and of course, as well as everyone speaks German. However, one thing, I talked about this briefly, why I do not think that I should be writing in German. This had to do with whitewashing, because my intellectual productions, or what I think I contributed to the German culture, was always whitewashed by Austrians, who then claimed that I would be white, who then claimed some sort of denied my migrant heritage, denied my Middle Eastern heritage. This was not only the far right, this was as well as the left, as in Austria as well as in Germany. The left is way more racist, the left is way more militant, and of course very aggressive, violent, but they got the answer. And of course one of the reasons was that I decided when I would write in German or produce everything in German, then of course you help the wrong people who use your intellectual accomplishments in a way to draw a line between East and West, and especially with this rampant racism in the university in Austria, as well as in the society. I mean, these people use it in that sense that they claim that this would be not the product of a Middle Eastern man, this would be not the product of a foreigner, and so on. And they even, in that sense, whitewashed me. Some of my productions, which went even so far with attempts on my life, and then they wanted to steal my identity in that sense, to replace me with an Austrian, an Aryan, in order to live or soothe this pain. We talked about it a little bit in cultural gender or culturalism, that some people, especially racist people in Austria as well as in Germany, this is not only the far right, but as well as the left people, white people. I mean, again, it is a big issue, but it is an issue whom we call white and black. And this is, of course, we talked about it in a great deal. This is always an issue, especially in continental Europe, but in that sense. So people in Austria as well as in Germany, they always grew up with the notion that they were superior to all others, especially to foreigners, to Middle Eastern, and they always grew up in the notion that Middle Eastern people are racially inferior, and because of this their cultural accomplishments are inferior, would be inferior. We talked about this briefly, and this is part of racism as well. And the saddest part in Austria was actually that these racial attitudes, prejudices are pretty much or go deep within the left in Austria. They have a lot of listeners within the left, and then of course this then started all these attempts of whitewashing in a way to destroy not only my life but as well as my accomplishments, like destroying like that I wouldn't have written all my stuff all alone, so that even feminists took part in this I would say shameful and this despicable action, so that some women claimed that they would have contributed or whatever, or would have in a way written, and that we would some sort of work in unison and so on. So the goal was in a way to eliminate this threat which I would be posing to the Austrian as well as German elite, as this foreigner, as this migrant man who is intellectually sophisticated. This was one of the reasons why people tried very hard to get rid of me. One of the reasons why I still have issues with identity theft. This is one of the reasons why I still have to fight, or I still have to ward off claims that I would not be writing all my stuff or by myself, that I would have collaborators and so on. And this was one of the reasons why I said to myself, or the reason why I said to myself, enough is enough. Every word I write in German, every word or every poetry I write in German, everything always contributes to a very dangerous development, a dangerous development within the society, in Austria, within the intellectual elite in Austria. And this was actually then the reason why I said, no, I cannot go on like this. I don't want to go on like this. I cannot write about this. But of course, now things became very apparent. And this was, of course, I wanted to make aware of issues, especially when you only consider now the developments in the US or everywhere, that this is indeed a big issue. Being a migrant is an issue. And I mean, it might be some sort of troublesome, because I tried to avoid whitewashing, and now I some sort of take over, or in a way use in my screenplays Mexican or Spanish protagonists, and in that and I don't speak even Spanish. I don't speak fluent Spanish, not at all. So I didn't had. I had the possibility to learn Spanish, but I didn't. And I talked about it the last time as well. So the key is not about me. This is what you see in this screenplays as well as my attention is not my intention is not to talk about cultural issues within the Latin American community. I mean, I don't know anything about it, or I know little about it. I mean, of course, you have the media, and of course, in sociology, you get aware of some issues. I mean, this is not only the Latin Americans. This is as well as the Italo-Americans. There are sociological documents that they struggled as well to integrate into the American society, as well as the Irish. So because they were Catholics in the beginning, they were not even considered as white. So whiteness, as you can see there, as well as cultural aspect as well, and only later on were they considered as white. So Catholics were in a way then considered as part of the white race as well. Pardon me. However, and there are of course a lot of documents, and I said to myself, I mean, this was a big decision. Of course, I could have dropped it. I could have stopped writing about this perspective of a migrant, and then I decided, no, I don't want to do this. This migrant identity is a big issue. It's not only a big issue, but as well as an integral part of my identity, how I see the world. This is how I saw and happened to interpret and look in to the world. So this is nothing you can change. My parents were Turkish migrants, but of course, in addition to that, we were Armenians who Greek Armenians who grew up in the Ottoman Empire and then later converted to Islam. So even here in the Black Sea region, there are a lot of people who have Greek and Armenian ancestors. However, and we were one of those, and this is, I think, makes it very intricate, our identity. So it is not as simple as one might think, and this is very important. So it is not only that my grandfather, who was born an Armenian Christians, who had a few in this world as an Armenian in the Ottoman Empire, as well as then he some sort of made their descendants the heir of their perspective, of their worldview. So my father was not different from that, as well as my mother. So they inherited their worldview, and then later when my parents moved to Europe to work in Austria and make a living, of course, then these migrant views in Turkey as Armenian, then as Turk, and then as Turkish migrant in Austria have. These are the views which made me. These are, I think, is very important, and this is something you cannot just swept aside with. I mean, I talked about this. I talked about it previously, and I just want to emphasize this again. And so someone who talks about cultural appropriation should not try to whitewash my accomplishments, or someone who talks about the necessity that other people needs to be heard as well should not try everything to prevent me from expressing my ideas, my thoughts, my views into the world, because I said this once before, and I will say this every time. I will repeat this as many times as possible, because this is partially a remedy against the depravity of leftism, and this is that your personal life matters. This is your views matters. This means the world you see, the world around you, this is unique. This is like your fingerprint, the way you see the world. This is not only your opinion, but as well as you make the world in the way you see it. You transform it. So it is not that we humans, what is mostly being suggested by inadequate and lame communist philosophy, so that you are just one cog, and that you have to be acting concert with all others. Not at all that your view matters. This is what people actually never teach you, especially not in a university which is led by lefties, and this is that your view, that how you see the world, that this is important, that this can contribute to a broader understanding of humans, that this is actually very important, that people share their views, what they feel, and so on, and it shouldn't be like I experienced in the university, that people just want you to some sort of be a parrot and repeat what these people in front tell you would be accurate, what these people in front think that you should be thinking, and so on. So I think independence starts with your mind, and the way you free yourself is, I think, firstly, that you have to acknowledge and be positive of the world you are and where you grew up with, that this means something, that this is valuable, even though if you think it is not. I mean, this is, I talked about it as well as about my parents, and now it was Women's Day, so the way my parents saw the world, this is how they saw it, but you should appreciate this as well, and don't let it be undermined by people, by depraved people, by scumbags who think they can force their worldview upon you. And this is, I think, very important, so that you have to appreciate your worldview as well, because we have a lot of people on the social media who are chubby or obese, but yet they post body positive pics, they post all necessary stuff, and you should take them as, in a way, as a role model, and this means your worldview, the world you see, your ideas of life, of being. Of course, they may not be sophisticated in the beginning, but this will happen eventually. But this means something, who you are and how you see the world. This means something. And in order to come back to my screenplay Lifesaver, my importance was, of course, first of all, to talk about certain issues, and I said about this as well. I mean, you have to be very cautious. I mean, you cannot say things outright, because I know what I'm talking about. I mean, I've been targeted a lot. There were a lot of attempts on my life, but I still managed to move on. But the big issue is, especially in our cancel culture, if you say the truth outright, you will be banned, you will be blocked from social media. Of course, you have to be aware there are a lot of trolls on social media, as well as a lot of people who spread deliberately false informations to gain followers and appeal. These are true, but nevertheless, there are some worrisome issues which has happened in Austria and as well as in Germany, and I'm not too sure that everyone is even aware of it. I mean, maybe some people will know about some issues. However, and so it is some sort of caution in a sense. I mean, I'm not stupid. I know that this is important, especially right now. I am unemployed. I don't have any income, and I eat every day the same thing. So in the morning, for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, I have pretty much the same meal, cheap meal. So I'm barely scraping by, and yet you still need money to survive. So I'm not a millionaire or whatever. And if I am, I don't know anything about it. No, I'm struggling. I'm struggling to make ends meet, and these things are very important for me, and especially in our cancel culture, which is actually led by the left, because the left, who are in part responsible for some negative development in our society, yet they have the audacity to cancel you as well. So I got, of course, disillusioned with the left. This is what I talked about it over and over again. I mean, I was part of the Social Democrat Party. I was a member, but then after I saw the hideous developments in the party and this involvement of some people in hideous things, I left the party. And I mean, this is all I want to say, but it is indeed concerning, and given the state of the legal system in Austria, it's not very likely that justice will prevail. And well, this is, I think, an issue of the Austrian society. This is an issue of Austria. However, but it is indeed an issue, and of course cautious. But what was for me very important is actually that in my literature, in my creative work, that I still feel this world in this, that I still bring in this perspective, that I still talk about my view, that because these people, they matter, and these people, even though if you think that they are not or would not contribute to the world history or whatever, because we some people still think in an elitaristic term, thinking that only people on top can make his story. This is not the case. No, because everyone can make the difference, and should, and you can of course make the difference only in protecting your rights, your freedom of speech, your freedom of expression, but as well as that your right, that you have to be treated as a human being, that the right that your life is precious, so that no one can take away it, or that you should fight when the people come along and think that your life wouldn't be worthy, and that's why it is easier, or it is better that you should be killed or disposed of, and your organs should help others to live well. If this is the case, then Austrians as well as Germans shouldn't be an exception of it, especially the left. So if this is the rule, if we try to separate people in unworthy of living, and if we decide that these people who are unworthy to be lived alive, that they should be killed and their organs harvested, then we should start with Austrians and Germans first, so that we have more equality, so that their white skins, their Austrians, and their Aryan heritage should not save Austrians and Germans. This is my thing. So either we do it right or we don't do it at all. So this can't be that Austrians and Germans think that they're above the law, that they can do whatever they want, and that they can think that they can harm us, think they can corner people because they don't want to grant them human basic rights, which actually everyone has already. So this is mental depravity of this depraved and sick and maddening German culture. And I talked about this as well. I mean, this pandemic is a war against German culture. It is a war for us, that at the end we have to say enough is enough, and these people have been fooling us for too long, and yet again, because other people take the blame for what Austrians and Germans did. I mean, I again have to say again and again that we first and foremost have to look to Vienna. We first and foremost have to look to Austria, of the origin of this coronavirus, and then we make judgment calls. However, but to come back to my writing process, I mean, my goal was of course to entertain as well. I mean, this is I talked about it as well. I mean, if it weren't for Wattpad, if it weren't for Amazon, I wouldn't have gotten the opportunity to publish anything, because racism is that thick in Austria, especially among the left, and hopefully those scumbags die in mass through this virus. I sincerely hope that this happens. However, and there, of course, you want to earn money as well. And there, I mean, one thing was indeed difficult. Call this, I mean, how to structure it. I mean, this is, I talked about as well, because I read some books, and this is something, especially in the criminal genre, or the detective sport, or genre, the crime genre. If you only see this, there's nothing new comes of it. I mean, there's almost pretty much the same stuff. I mean, everything is killed, or there is someone killed, and then you somehow find out about it, or that you a detective work, then some sort of solves the issue. So if you only see the crime genre, well, there is nothing new of it. I mean, if you only see I think there are approximately thousands of crime books, as well as there are a lot of TV shows. I mean, with CSI, with everything. So it is not very likely that you will see something new, because in a way or another you have some sort of scene variation of one crime, of one solvement whatsoever. But if you only watch this crime genre or whatever, the essential key actually is the structure, how you structure it. This is if you read some crime novels. I mean, I do admit I don't like the crime genre because I still find it boring and so on. But well, this is only my opinion. However, but if you watch the structure of some crime genres, then you see, yeah, okay, even though the story is nothing new, but it is always how to structure it. And in the past, and this is when I was not a fan of Columbo. I do admit, I just watched a couple of episodes of Columbo, and I don't think that anyone really knows Columbo. This was with Peter Falk, who was the main protagonist of a series, and this was some sort of a detective series where Columbo was an eccentric in a way, and then he would solve a crime in a way in an old fashion. This is how it was always portrayed there. How Columbo is in a way this guy who is still old fashioned, eccentric and a little bit weird, but however he solves the crime. And if you only watch how Columbo was structured, and this was always the same, almost. I mean, again, I did not watch all episodes, but this was some sort of the story arc of Columbo, and this was that in the beginning was always the crime. So if you watch Columbo in the first phase, there was a crime, and you would always know in Columbo, you would always know who the murderer was or who the crime person was. So this is what was always clear in the beginning. So what happened? You knew what happened, who was killed, and you knew who did it. So and this is, I think, a big transformation happened yet later on. But however, if you watch Columbo, then you saw that Columbo then tried to bring these things together. Then he slowly saw the connection, and there in Columbo it was rather thrilling to see how Columbo, with his wits, with his and so on, or in a way is sometimes in a cunning way, tries to outsmart his opponent, tries to outsmart the murderer, and because you had always the feeling, at least in some Columbo episodes, that he knew who the murderer was, but yet he tried to really piece by piece, puzzle by puzzle, tried to put it together like a mystery. And you then could say that the structure of this movie was that in the beginning pretty much everything was known, so for the viewers everything was known, so and then it was rather the detective work, so his wits, his outsmarts, and then he would put the puzzle together. And if you want, you can call this some sort of seeing a connection to something. So something happens, and this is A, this is happened by B, and then you try to bring about the connection. So this is the first structure, if you want, where you pretty much put everything out in the open, where the structure is an open structure. You somehow then try to create attention through this detective work and so on. So this is the first structure. We can call it open structure or whatever. And of course, this structure has some advantages. And the first advantage was, of course, it is way less shocking in that sense. Because the perpetrator was known, because in Columbo, this man or whatever did is the perpetrator was known, was seen, and Columbo in a way walks always around him this some sort of a mystifies the perpetrator. This somehow makes him more human because he's visible. I mean, there was even one episode, I don't know the name of this episode, with William Shatner. I mean, everyone knew William Shatner from Star Trek. I don't know. Some people will not remember, and so on. But however, and Columbo would always question him, like in an interrogation room, and you could always see that this structure was always in a way to dehumanize or in a way to demystifies the perpetrator, make him more human and then less threatening. So you want to say then that this open scene, or what is open structure, where you reveal some sort of part of the plots, in a way what happened or what it leads to, that this is rather is of course planned for younger audiences as well, because it is way less fear in inflicting. If you only watch some horror movies, it is one of the main key issues that you do not or only see or scarcely see the perpetrator. Think on Jaws, in Jaws, in Steven Spielberg's Jaws. In the first time, you don't really see the high in the beginning, but then more and more, but you become always aware of the threat, and this is what horror movies are about, or at least good horror movies are about threat. This is the threat of one. Scream, for example, Scream 1 does it very good in the first part of Scream, this awareness around every corner, around or behind every door, there could be this person who kills people, and you some sort of reveal with a mask, the murderer, the perpetrator, and this, of course, in a way expatiates the thrill. You are more thrilled, you are more scared. This is some sort of you can raise with this the tension. So this is some sort of a closed format that you leave it up to the end of a movie or of an episode, who the murder is or who the perpetrator was. This is so with CSI, with all this CSI, because if you watch CSI, in the beginning there's this crime, and then with scientific explanations, they try to find the murderer, and only in the at the end you have some sort of see this the face, this unknown. So this is rather to raise the thrill. But if you only watch Columbo, there it actually does not happen. So there you are well aware of the murderer, and you only are try to connect the dots. Especially you need the motive. Why does this person, or why he did it? And so you are waiting for the motive, this why, which is the driving force in Columbo in that sense. And however, and this has then changed. I mean, you can use this format as well. I mean, you can. This is even done by some movies. If you there you in the beginning. Something happens, or you know the end of it. I mean, I don't know, or I can't tell a movie right now. I can't recall a movie right now, but these are movies where the end is pretty much near, or that you know the end. Or, for example, many romance movies are like that. I mean, if you, for example, watch stuff from Rosamund Pilcher, you pretty much know that in the beginning that these two persons will come together eventually. I mean, again, I'm not a real Rosamund Pilcher fan. I did not read much of her, however. But you see that, so there is already a full film, and you know what is going to happen in the end, but you are still thrilled and excited how these two people find each other, and this as well as with crime. But this open concept is a little bit tricky, because you then really have to create this tension through the motive, because then you have everything out of the open, and the Columbo actually does this pretty good. I mean, I don't know who the writer of Columbo was. I should Google it. But if you see or watch Columbo actually really does it very good. I mean, even though if you're bored and do not like crime movies like I do, like me, but if you see that they can really create tension through figuring out the motive, whereas even though it has such a disadvantage to a closed construction like you would see today in horror movies, so where the revelation of the end some sort of is the huge high point, because this is what you if you want to see how a story is built, if you want to know, this is the three parts of a story. If you want where you have a beginning, then a high point, and the end. And if you watch horror movies and some of those crime movies or crime series, then you always at the beginning is a murder, something happens, you don't know who, and then throughout the second part of it, then you some sort of haunt this person, this murderer. This is where things get in a way close in to that. So this is the second part, and then the high point of the second part is the revelation of this murderer. This is, if we talked about Scream, this is when Billy and Stu reveal themselves as the murderer. So this is the high point of it. So they are the murderers. They too killed all these women, and then of course you want to know why. So it is because Sydney's mother had sex with Billy's dad, and so on and so on. So this is the simple structure. But so more murdering happens, and so on. And Columbo is in a way really does the opposite of this, and it works because Columbo in the beginning you pretty much know what happened. You pretty much know who did it, and this takes away a lot of tension. Actually, I mean, this is the disadvantage of the open structure. Then, of course, I mean, the writers of Columbo, they did something extraordinary, so they can keep people engaged with the motive, so that they can build up pressure through this motive. Why did it? And of course, how he did it. This is what is being revealed as well. So there are two ways of building tension, and the first way is in the opening, and then you reveal everything, and then the second part would be that you leave many things in the dark, like in Steven Spielberg's Jaws, where you actually only see a couple of times the shark. I mean, of course, if you know a bit of Jaws, then you know this had a reason, because Steven Spielberg actually wanted to make the shark more visible, but it was not possible, and so on. But yet this really created suspense, or these two versions of tensions are indeed very important if you want to create something like this. And we will talk about this the next time a little more in detail. This was Adam Kirbas from Urdu on this rainy August day. We are still in the pandemic, and I hope that you take care of yourself. Bye.
It's finally time to start firing up the grill. From city to shore, Acme is everything you need to prep for this summer season. Download the Acme app to shop for this season's essentials any way you want. Open the Acme app, clip your deals, then order your items online. An experienced Acme associate will carefully select your groceries, bag your order, and bring it right to your car or deliver right to your door. Download the app or visit acmemarkets.com for program details.